This is Casey Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit digital resource produced by Charitable Communications. We'll tell the stories of Kansas City nonprofits and the people behind them. Casey Cares is proudly sponsored by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation. We are at the central branch of the Kansas City Library, and we are so delighted to be here as part of our monthly out and about with the library. This is such a beautiful space. If you have not come down here, it's incredible. It's just like this little niche in downtown. Well, it's not so little. So robust. And later we're going to be able to capture a very exciting event going on in Kansas City, and that's a naturalization ceremony. 60 people are becoming new Americans today, and it's so cool because the library has a program that can help folks get ready for the test that they have to pass to be able to get to this step today. But first, we want to welcome back one of our favorite guys. It's Brandon Mixon, who is a co-founder of the Veterans Community Project.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
We're so glad to have you and in this incredible space and not terribly far away from where you all are at. You all have just been going to town on everything. Bring us up to speed on the Veterans Community Project. What's been going on? Where are we at with houses, etc.?
Yeah, for those of you that are listening and don't remember who we are, everybody knows us for the guys that build the tiny houses here in Kansas City.
The tiny house guys.
Yeah, we actually do a lot more than that. It's the wraparound services, the healthcare, the dental care, the veterinary services. Again, this was just a hobby for us when we started it. We had no clue it was going to take off. We just wanted to be able to fill the gaps, right? There's a lot of gaps in services for a lot of our brothers and sisters that were ending on the streets, and we wanted to overcome that. And so that's kind of how Veterans Community Project got started and a little bit about us. But some cool facts about us. We have 49 tiny houses now. We've been housing in 26 of those. We released the last 23 of those on December 4th. So December 4th, we're having our grand opening. We have our 5,000-foot community center where we'll have a dental clinic, a healthcare clinic out of there, a veterinary clinic out of there, resume workshops to training kitchens to you name it. So December 4th, come check us out. Really excited about that. But no, just really excited to be here with you today. And also when I walked in, it was really great to see that they are having this ceremony. You know, these are also my brothers and sisters, right? I fought for the right for this to happen. It's just so cool to be able to see this going on in the background and to be in this beautiful studio. So
you talked about this was a hobby when you started. Who takes on that kind of a task as a hobby? I love that that's how you couched it. So how did you move the hobby to a full-blown nonprofit that you're providing housing and services?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually get asked that a lot. So, you know, my background in is I had a heating and cooling business. I started that because when I came back from Afghanistan, I really battled with a suicide and mental health issues. You know, I got medically retired when I was 23 years old, and I came home and just thought my life was over, right? That it's not worth kind of living anymore, and I don't know what the next steps are. And so I really battled with that. And you know, thank God for my wife. She kind of sent me out with another group of guys, but that group of guys that I met, I was trying to figure out, why are they so happy? I'm like, what are they doing that makes them happy, right? And they're telling me that they're helping veterans. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should try helping veterans, right? So Chris Stout, which is one of the other co-founders, he was telling me, you know, about helping other veterans, and he was working for United Way at the time. And I said, okay, well, what do you need help with? And he was telling me, he said, you know what, we have a lot of guys struggling with like heating and cooling or just home renovation stuff. There's nobody in Kansas City that really focuses on helping individuals with that. And so I put myself through heating and cooling school, got my degree in it, and actually did free heating and cooling for veterans. From there, literally all of us were sitting at a bar one night, like every other great story, right? And we were all kind of talking. We were frustrated because we were seeing guys living on the streets. And I was kind of like, well, why is this happening, right? You know, keep in mind, I got medically retired. So I automatically assumed because you're a veteran, you qualify for all these great services, right? Well, in a lot of cases, that's not the case at all. A lot of reservists, a lot of National Guard, a lot of dishonorably discharged veterans get left without services. And this absolutely blew my mind. And I'm like, holy cow, these are the same guys I served with in Afghanistan or Iraq, right? Mm-hmm. They're coming home and they're trying to get help, but they can't. They don't qualify for services because they're not looked at as they're a veteran, right? And this broke my heart. I'm like, wow, we got to do something about this. So Again, I had that building background. All of us said, you know what, let's do something about it. We're already spending our own money helping veterans anyways, so why don't we just start our own nonprofit, right? How we envisioned this nonprofit was to be privately funded. That way we could basically say yes to any veteran that walked our door, right? Really cut through the red tape. We can't be dictated through the federal government on who we can and can't help. To
Right.
me, you took an oath. You raised that right hand. You said, you know what, I will fight for the Constitution. We wanted to be able to give those individuals a chance, right? They're our brothers and our sisters, and so that's kind of the start of our nonprofit. From there, like I said, it started as a hobby for us. How we got the money to do it is, well, actually, how I got the money to do the first tiny house is I sold my race car.
Really?
Yeah, I found my old helmet that I had, but I love it. That's probably my most prized possession. But yeah, the very first tiny house, the outfit, and everything else like that, I had to sell my race car. So that was kind of the history behind that. We didn't have some millionaire investor. It literally was us, five guys saying, let's put in everything we had to mortgaging our houses. That's how we started the nonprofit. And it's been a blessing ever since. What's been amazing is the community's wrapped around us and said, we believe in you. We believe in your mission. We believe in, helping your brothers and sisters. And it's turned into the nonprofit you see here today. We've been fortunate enough that we're going national now, and it's just been taken off. I mean, literally just the blink of an eye, but it just tells you the drive that the community has for us, and the impact that we've been able to have. Um, Year to date, we've been able to transition, 26 veterans, and our positive transition rate is 62%. I mean, that's huge, right?
That's
Keep
tremendous.
in mind, we're working with guys that have been chronically homeless for decades in a lot of cases and don't qualify for any other programs. So bringing these guys into our program, being able to provide the wraparound services, again, mental health services, the 8-to-1 case management ratio, and then being able to transition them as a 62 positive transition rate, that's huge. I mean, that's some big numbers. Um,
Yeah, when you say you have 26, I believe, that you've been able to transition that's out of the tiny houses.
Correct. Yeah. And actually, I'm going to pull up some stats real quick
Oh, that's perfect. We
that
love
they
numbers.
uh, we actually just got this month. So sorry, I'm kind of scrolling through my phone here. Sorry.
That's okay. I want to know though, the race car.
Yeah.
Did you paint the one tiny house, with a racing stripe with your
I
number?
I
I mean,
did.
you know,
Uh, I
that could be
should
the
have.
racing house or the car house.
I should have, but that was our first generation, right?
Yeah.
That was the house that I built using YouTube. I laid out the very first tiny house, and people ask me, why is the tiny house laid out that way? Well, it's actually because, again, I struggled with transition, getting out of the military, right? And so the tiny house actually represents a transition piece, putting it back in that military mentality. The tiny house relates a lot to barracks lifestyle, B huts, connexes, right? Putting them back in that military mentality. In a lot of cases, the individuals are the most successful in their military, in their life in general in the military, right? So putting them back in that military mentality, military housing mentality, right? And then helping them break down those issues that they're dealing with and helping them transition back into civilian life. So that's actually the whole thought process behind the tiny house. It's not that it's more cost effective or anything else like that. If anything, it's probably more expensive.
Mm.
But the big thing is we wanted to house with dignity, right? We wanted them to have their own bathroom. We wanted them to have their own kitchen. Something that I didn't cover, everything inside their tiny house is brand new when they enter, right?
Mm.
And that's huge because that tells them, wow, you are worth it, right? And on top of that, so pots, pans, dishes, groceries, we partner with Sprouts. They provide 2 months of groceries, right? Everything inside that house, the bed, the TV, everything goes with them when they transition out of our tiny house back into, again, permanent housing, right? It's setting these guys up for, permanent housing. I mean, that's our goal, permanent housing readiness.
So once they move in, there are services to help them take that next step in the process of getting out of homelessness and into career or
I would say
just
that's
getting
that's
back
what
on
we
their
do.
feet.
Absolutely. Again, everybody knows this for the tiny houses, right? You can't just give somebody a house and say, here you go, figure it out. It's literally the wraparound services. It's literally um, basically saying, I have your back. Let's figure this out together, right? You just hear this sigh of relief, right, from these guys and saying, wow, I'm not alone anymore. Biggest things is, we look at the streets here of Kansas City, and maybe this is a bad analogy, but the streets here of Kansas City, like it's Afghanistan, right? It's my job in Afghanistan to go and pull my brothers and sisters off the battlefield. These are guys that are literally dying on the battlefield here in Kansas City, right? It's our opportunity and it's our job as veterans and civilians to go off the streets and pull these guys to safety and say, you know what, you're not alone anymore. We're going to figure this out together. Let's get you what you need, bring you into, our housing. Let's focus on job placement services. Let's focus on the mental health issues. Again, the 8-to-1 case management ratio, that's a huge part for a lot of these guys. Again, since we're privately funded, we could focus on the underlying issues with a lot of these guys and build a program around the individual's needs. I'm not knocking on federal programs. Federal programs are great, right? They do a great job in what they do. But with us being privately funded, again, we could take the time to focus on the individual and then the individual's needs. And that's why we're seeing that 62%, success rate, which, again, I can't beat this again. That is a huge number.
That's a tremendous number. So you will have these 49 totally up and running. How do you choose a vet?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Everybody actually asks us, do we have a waiting list, right? No, not per se. What we're doing is we're not trying to have these guys drag their feet. There's other great programs out there. And we have the best way to say it is an outreach center, right? So any veteran off the streets can walk in and receive help. They talk with resource coordinator. I'm sorry, looking for the word resource coordinator, and just being able to talk to somebody. And from there, we're able to say, okay, hey, where's your DD Form 214? That will tell us what they qualify for. In a lot of cases, they don't have it, right? They've never even filed for it. So we're able to file for that DD Form 214. And from there, sit down with them and say, hey, you qualify for A, B, and C. And a lot of cases, they have no clue. So again, we're not trying to compete with any other program in Kansas City. I'm much rather partner. I'm really good at the housing and working on certain stuff, but there's other great programs. Goodwill has an amazing program with resume writing workshops and computer literacy and stuff like that. We've partnered with them. We've been able to partner with a lot of other programs and get these vets into those programs. So that's what I would say is very unique about us. And we didn't know that until Jason actually told us. He said, wow, I've been all around the United States and there's not a program like this, right? There's not a program that any veteran can just walk into the doors and receive help and just talk to somebody and figure out what they need.
So we're talking about Jason Kanter, who
Yes.
has joined the organization, former Secretary of State from Missouri. He was a mayoral candidate. Very public announcement. He was stepping back from political life to deal with his own mental health issues. Came on board. What have you guys told him he gets to do? He's the newbie, right?
Right. He just keeps stealing all the sweet shirts and everything. I'm pretty sure all he does is come in and takes all of our
Takes all the pictures.
All the cool pictures and gets to shake all the cool hands and be that face. I'm like, Jason, I worked really hard for this. Like, kind of, come on, man.
I'm
like,
glad you're razzing him.
Yeah.
Good job.
No, I'm just kidding. But I want to answer your other question real quick, the waiting list thing. No, because we're trying to get them to other programs. The guys that don't qualify for their programs, we're going to work with them and then go out on the street when their house, quote unquote, is ready, right? But I don't want to give them the false sense of hope, so they drag their feet into other programs or trying to get into other programs saying, well, I'm going to get this cool house at Veterans Community Project. I'm just going to drag my feet to try to get into another program. No, it doesn't work like that, right? So literally we go out on the streets and say, hey, you ready to change your life? Hey, that's actually how we find a lot of these veterans. And again, a lot of vets may not be ready for that change. And again, it's just working with them, case management and the ones that are ready to change and willing to show that positive attitude and, willing to come in. So I think I explained that okay.
You did great. Curious, any women living in the tiny houses yet?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've, when I say men or guys, it's men and women to me. This is how we served with the
Interchangeably.
military. Yeah. We have 9 families actually living there. We have 4 family units, but actually 9 families. So, weekend custody, et cetera. Women wise, I actually think we have, 9 women. And so it's actually been surprising. A lot of these individuals will not go into shelters, right? That's kind of the stigmatism vets have because we're always watching our back. The killing rate, the rape rate, all that stuff is really high in shelters. And so a lot of these individuals, we're taught to live outside of society anyways in a tent. So they just kind of take their chances and live there. But to answer your question, yes, men, women, kids, you name it, man. It's so cool as you're walking down, the hill when you're in our community, right, up at 89th and Troost, and you see, the cars on the ground and this the kids play stuff, right, and swords laying out in footballs. It just reminds me, and I'm like, wow, it reminds kind of my childhood, that stuff just
where everybody kind of hung outside and felt safe.
They feel safe. Yeah, they feel safe, and they get to see a positive influence in their mom and dad instead of struggling, right? Now they say, you know what, my mom or dad had to ask for help. I know how to ask for help now too, instead of us vets are very stubborn, man. We don't ask for help, but just being able to do it together, and not being forgot about.
Well, it's amazing what you all have done in just since 2015. I mean, it's not that long, but I think for a lot of people, they feel they've been around forever.
Yeah.
So you've made this tremendous footprint. Let's talk about expansion, though.
Yeah.
So in December, you open the rest of the houses here.
Yep.
You guys are moving and shaking, though. It isn't just Kansas City anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to lie to you. Originally, we were going to go to Nashville. I think last time I was talking about Nashville.
Right.
We went to Nashville and some things crumbled underneath of us, and we had to pull to Nashville, and we learned, right? Again, this has never been done before, so we're kind of paving that pathway. So Jason, we actually met him on his political campaign. He tells me all the time, he said, you know what, man, when I left there that day, he said, you know what, I wish there was one of those in my hometown. Well, there is, but, there needs to be one of those in every single city. And then he came, was battling with a lot of his PTSD issues and a lot of stuff like that. And he came home to us, right? Heck, he talks about all the time. He's had many influential people on his phone, Obama, Biden, all those guys offering to give him the best care there is, right? But all he wanted to do is be with his brothers and sisters again. Mm-hmm. He trusted us. So he came back to the Veterans Community Project. We helped him through that process at the VA and everything else like that. Even somebody with a law degree like him, right? He didn't even know how to navigate that. So us being able to say, here you go, here's how you navigate it, we treated him just like a normal vet. And then he came back and he said, you know what? You guys changed my life. You guys have been able to save my life. He's like, I owe you guys. He said, I've been able to do the Let It Vote program. That's actually his. But he said, I've done a national organization. I'm going to do the national expansion for you guys. We're going to take this national. And so that's what we're going to do, 8 cities by 2022.
Oh, my gosh. That is really robust.
Yeah, no, I believe in him, and I believe in our organization. We have the right people in place, and just the communities are willing to support us. We're currently in Longmont, Colorado. We're actually going to be, we technically broke ground there. Our infrastructure will be done by May. We're currently working on Orlando right now, working with a couple different partners to acquire land there, land acquisition in St. Louis, and a couple of different other places.
So folks want to help you, want to come by, want to be part of this incredible effort, they should go to the website?
Yeah, veteranscommunityproject.org. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, kind of all the same, or even Casey Cares Radio.
Absolutely.
You guys post a lot of great stuff as well, but I would love to be back on the show again. I know we're running out of time here. Maybe do a live from VCP, but
that'd be great. We would love
so
to come out. Well, thanks for all the incredible work you do in Kansas City.
Thanks.